Good evening. I'm doing a stand-in talk this evening because I waited too long and lost the light outside. It's not the temperature, but it is the visibility. I wanted to offer a couple of remarks having seen Joe Biden at the press conference by which so many were going to measure, they hoped and expected, his failure, which is a rotten thing for the people in your own party to do, to say, to contemplate, but they did. Biden came out and he was a combination of presidential and comfortable policy wonk. And I say that because anybody who's spent time on the Hill knows that the best staff and the best senators and representatives are deep into certain issues that they've spent their time with. And one of those that Biden spent a lot of time with as the chairman and ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee was foreign affairs. And here he is at NATO having, in his opinion, and by the word of the nation states, help put NATO on a strong footing to protect itself from Putin and from others. Something that Biden pointed out Trump has no interest in. Trump, in fact, has said, well, let Putin go against all these people. I won't help them. And there's a provision 5 that once you are part of this group, that if anyone is attacked, any nation state, the others will join together in defense. It's a powerful tool. And Biden had an opportunity to describe what he's done in some detail, and describe in some detail what he did and how he tried to deal with his dissatisfaction and the advances that he made in the Middle East involving Gaza and involving Israel. So what can we say happened this evening? Well, there were a lot of people, and they should be ashamed, that they came waiting for Biden to make errors so that they could push an agenda of having someone substitute for him, including perhaps his own vice president. But when asked about how she was doing, he gave an unalloyed cheer for her, talking about her in the most positive way, and never for a moment showing the possible jealousy of a younger, capable politician, perhaps supplanting him in the White House. And the reason he could deal with it that way is he sees himself and Harris, his vice president, as a team, as a partnership. And he explained how whatever value, and it is substantial, and he said he knew that since before they were elected, after she was chosen to be vice president, he knew they were going to be a great team. But he believes that he can win this election and that he has to work for it and will work for it. There's an Irish expression, a question really, is this a private fight or can anybody get in? Biden has been in this fight since he was a young man, a young elected senator with a crisis in his family. He's dealt with all sorts of crucial challenges in his life, and now he's facing another one. He's mixing the wisdom, the body of wisdom that he has as an older man, with the difficulties that come with that. That is this thing we walk around in, this mass that carries our humanity, it carries us to do and to try to do important things. But the most important thing about it is that Biden, in a society that suffers from extreme ageism, as demonstrated by how they've handled his failure at the first debate because of whatever series of things. And now we look at him, and he's at a press conference after he's had a bunch of appearances afterwards. And when he wasn't speaking to the ideas that he thinks matters for the future, he was showing us his authentic self, who he is. He was relaxed, conversational. There are few men and women who reach a point in their life where being in a public place, they can speak to you as if they're sitting in your dining room with two people at the table. And he gave that impression to the people. He showed himself to be a fighter, not just for the United States, not just for his policies, but for the future of America, for the children born who are with us, who, if Trump wins, will suffer greatly. And so I thought he did this quite convincingly. And America loves an underdog, and they made him an underdog by taking him on. And he's showing some of that Irish fight. And that, I think, will carry him through. He repeatedly said when they said, oh, what about your health and so forth? He said, if a neurologist tells me to take another test, I'll do it. They tell me something, I will listen and I will take account of it. But presently, I'm okay, and I can win this, and I will win this. And every bone in his body clearly is engaged in this corpuscular challenge to continue and restore the republic that we have, lest we lose to a dictator, Trump. There was even an expression at the end asking Biden about a slip he made when speaking. And he said, and I don't know if I can trust my memory, but he said something like, have you heard him? Listen to him, one of those two things. In other words, a man who talks about being afraid of wet batteries and sharks, that's a whole other category than transposing names and words and hesitating to say something. There were several times when Biden stopped, but it wasn't because he didn't have something to say. He was thinking how to parse what he was going to say. He had no notes. He had no teleprompters. He didn't know what the questions were. The questions that were asked were respected and respectful of him, and they were very good questions. And after several people had asked, are you really going to do this thing? And he said pretty convincingly he was, and he wasn't moved to do anything other than that. They asked him about some policy questions. And it's clear he's a policy wonk. And those of us who've worked on the Hill, or maybe worked in any position, are familiar with the facts of how when you have, say, in this case, a bill in Congress or in the Senate, and you drill down to the facts, and you consult the Congressional Research Service, and you have a hearing, and you talk to people about it, and you draft a bill with the legislative drafting section or yourself with the member, and you present it to the committee, and it passes as amended, and it goes to the floor after a rule that sets what the bill says, and when it goes to the full House or the Senate is voted on. And if there are differences between the House and the Senate, then the two bodies sit together and figure out how to have one item that they can send to the White House, whomever is in the Oval Office. Biden's done all of that. He's done that for his life. He knows how to do it. And in fact, if you remember, when he was with Obama, he worked very hard because he was concerned about the right of individuals to have health care, Obamacare. So in balance, what do I think? I think this is just another chapter putting further into the rearview mirror the appearance at the debate in which he lost it, perhaps because of travel, because he had a moment, whatever it is. But it's not neurological, it hasn't been repeated, and it strikes us all as some saw an opportunity to be concerned about covering themselves should the lead of the ticket not carry them enough to re-election. That's not acceptable. I'm not saying that they should willingly want to lose. No man or woman who runs for office can want to lose, because losers lose well and repeatedly lose. But that's not Biden. Consider how much Biden has fought to be at this point. So the question is, will they lay off? I'm told that there are 40 members of Congress that are prepared to demand that Biden step down tomorrow. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's steadfast. I almost said donkey, but I don't think he's stubborn without cause. And so here we have a person who has been cast against the House and the Senate, members of it, cast against corporate America, united with unions on his behalf, and the people who like an underdog, which is how he's being treated. And he's fighting newspapers that without precedent are asking him to withdraw from the race. Amazing. How could you ask Biden to withdraw and not talk about Trump, given what he's done? A felon, all the things that he's done, all the lies he's told. And it seems to me that there are many people who side up with Trump because they figure this guy's going to save us money. He's going to cut our taxes. And so the pocketbook is good for some, but for Trump, and that's all he is. For Trump, this is an opportunity to take over this nation and deform it like never before. For Biden, this is an opportunity to continue the good works he's done and to make us an even stronger republic and to carry us into the future and where we won't have to look over our shoulders or be concerned about the kind of corruption that is defined by Trump and the opposite of the integrity of Biden. So I just have a couple of remarks about today, and I think we're just going to have to press on with those people, those bubbleheads, who don't know any better than to oppose a good man and compromise his standing in the polls. And when they stop, we'll see the difference. And the polls are static now because no one knows what's going to happen. And I think the one thing that was repeated strongly enough was Biden is in this to the end. And I think that's great. So vote for the good man, not the con man. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.